everybody! This week we're going to learn about Elisha and when he asked God to protect him. We'll see who God sent to protect him in this story, and then we're going to make a craft about who God sent to protect Elisha. So go ahead and listen to the story, and I want you to pay careful attention to who God sends to protect Elisha. Elisha was a prophet of the one true God and did many wonderful miracles by the power of God. In the days of Elisha, there were many false gods that people worshipped. One of the false gods was called Baal. People made statues of Baal looking like this. In one hand he held a club, and in the other hand he held a bolt of lightning. People thought Baal was in charge of the weather, so when they wanted rain for their crops, they would offer sacrifices to him. People completely forgot that it was the one true God who made heaven and earth and created all the plants and crops in it that gives us food. Some people even dedicated their own children to these false idols. God loves children, but these children grew up not loving God or obeying him. They jeered and made fun of anyone who worshipped God. Now one day, the prophet Elisha was walking on the way to Bethel. Suddenly he came across a gang of youths who looked threatening and menacing. These young lads worshipped false idols and wanted nothing to do with God. When they saw Elisha, they started to shout hateful things at the prophet and jeered at him. "Get out, bald head," they sneered. "Get out of here, baldy." They followed after the prophet, and Elisha feared for his life. It was one man against a large, unruly mob. Elisha knew he was in danger and called on God to defend him. He turned around to face them and asked God to uphold the honor of his name and show these youths who was in control. Suddenly out of the trees came two female bears. They scratched and clawed at the jeering crowd, and the young thugs fled. The two bears injured 42 of the young thugs. The rest ran far away and probably told their friends what had happened. Elisha continued on his journey. If you had been there that day, who would you have stood with, the jeering crowd or Elisha? If people were to jeer at you for obeying God, what would you do? So who did God send to protect Elijah? That's right, he sent two bears! So, we can probably relate to Elijah. Have you ever been at school or on the playground and someone wasn't being very nice to you? A lot of us have probably experienced that, right? Imagine that you prayed that this person would go away and that they would be nice to you, and then all of a sudden bears appeared to take care of them? That's a lot, isn't it? That's pretty extreme. So God loves us, and that's why he protects us. But he also teaches us to love each other and to love our neighbors. So every once in a while, you may see someone being bullied or someone being mean to someone else on the playground. And part of what we learn from God is that we need to help each other. So maybe it can be as simple as just telling that person being mean that they're not being very nice. Or if it's really bad, we should always tell a grown-up. And that's how we can show love to our neighbors and our friends and help protect each other. So we're going to make a craft to help us remember that God protects us and that God loves us. We're going to make a bear. So let's go ahead and get started with our craft. This week for your craft, you're going to want black construction paper. You're going to want crayons, but most specifically, you want a white crayon. Do you know why? I'm going to use it on black paper. You probably don't get to use your white crayon very often, but it's going to show up great on this black paper. And then you want some tape or glue. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trace my hand on my black construction paper. And then, once I've traced my hand on my construction paper, I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. So go ahead and do that. Once you've cut your hand out, you're going to go back to your black paper and you're going to draw your bear's head. So you're going to draw a good sized circle. But your bear's also going to want some ears. So I'm going to go ahead and include those ears. And then I'm going to cut out my bear's head. So go ahead and cut it out. Once you've cut out your bear's head, you're going to glue it or tape it right over your thumb to the point both your ears show, like how mine show up over the bear's head. So there's our bear's body. Our bear's missing a face though, isn't he? So that's where our white crayon's going to come in handy. So I'm going to draw his snout with my white crayon. I'm going to go ahead and color that all in. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw his eyes. Just like that. And I'm also going to color those all in. Once I've done that, I'm going to get out my black crayon. And then I'm going to put the black part of my bear's eyes. I'm going to put his nose. And then I'm going to put his face and his mouth. The bears in this story, they were kind of mean, but they were helping out Elijah. They were protecting him. So I'm going to put teeth on my bear. And then, once I've done that, I have my whole bear decorated. You might want to put a little bit of white or red in his ears to make them look a tiny bit more like ears. But I'm going to write, God protects on the body of my bear. Because that's what God had the bears do for Elijah. So I hope you enjoyed making your craft this week. I'll see you next week, and I'll see you in Sunday school. Bye!